Hey, Kelly.
Hey, Jenn.
What are you listening to this week? Welcome to What Are You Listening To This Week, the weekly podcast where we talk about our favorite songs. Some old, some new, all good. I'm Jenn Tully, and this week I'm joined by the amazing Kelly Hager. Kelly's an author, international speaker, business consultant, and founder CEO of Arras Health and Arras Sisters, which we'll spend some time discussing in between the music. Also, did you know that now on Spotify, you can listen to the show with the songs we discuss incorporated? Just search for What Are You Listening To with Music. If you're not listening on Spotify, be sure to give the playlist a listen and then tune into our conversation. With that, let's get started. Kelly, what are you listening to this week?
Oh, Jenn, thanks for having me on. I'm very excited to be one of your first guests back this year.
Yes.
I am listening to One Angel by Stir, which is one of my absolute favorite songs.
Loved this song. I always call it out when a guest brings a song that I'm not familiar with. And this was one that I'd not heard before. I did not know this song. I did not know this band, and I couldn't believe it. They're so good.
They're so good, right? They're actually a St. Louis band, which is the city I'm from.
Yes.
And I think they got signed to Capitol Records at one point, and I don't know, everything kind of fell apart for them or whatever, but they had this one album that was so good. And for whatever reason, around the holidays and stuff, they always kind of pop in my head. So it's just been one of those weeks.
Totally. Well, and the other thing too, I'm like, oh, we both have a connection because I did see that they were from St. Louis, which I knew was your hometown, and then they got kind of discovered, I guess, at South by Southwest in
Yes.
1995. Which
Yes.
is, it was funny when I was looking at that. I'm like, I was at that South by Southwest because I went every year, and it happens in March every year, and it was right before I moved to Los Angeles. I didn't move to LA until May of 95. And so I was like, I bet you I probably even saw these guys or saw one of the showcases and didn't realize. So we both had a little connection there to Stir.
There you go. They are phenomenal.
Well, and it looks like they released an EP just last year. They only had 3 albums. They had this one, Stir, which was released in 1996, one called Holy Dogs from 2000, and then this EP that came out in November of last year called Gaffer Pottery. I
Yes.
was like, so if you are a fan, it looks like they make you wait quite a while.
Yes. Yes, just that. I think that there was like a big time off type of a thing, but then they kind of regrouped a little bit.
Okay. Well, and I love to. This was my favorite part about it as we go like through the playlist. And this is again the first episode back of season 2. Again, I'm so excited. And everybody's talking about new music and what you're excited for 2023. And we like solidly landed like late 80s, early 90s in this
Of
playlist.
course.
I'm like, well,
Just
that's
saying.
what you're going to get. I call it out in the beginning. I have the caveat, right? Some old, some new, all good. So we're covered. But I was like, it's really funny that everybody's going to be focusing on like what they're excited about. And here we are like kicking it way back. But that's what this band made me think of. I was telling you before we started recording, it really was like a time machine. And I didn't even get too caught up in the lyrics of this song because I was just enjoying being transported back to my college years, and this band, I feel like this song just like captures the sound of the genre from this area. You had, this string of bands. You had Candlebox and Sister Hazel and Gin Blossoms, and your second pick, I think, also falls into this genre. But I loved that. Were you a fan of like all of those bands and
All
sort
of
of?
those bands.
Yeah.
And we would go to hear them all. There's this big outside theater amphitheater type of a thing that we used to go to. And we would just sit on the lawn part of it. And I mean, it would be like concert after concert. And we just spent our summers doing that.
Yeah, it was like the good old days, man.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was so fun. It was so fun.
So fun. So yes, if you're not familiar with Stir, I encourage people, especially if you like that genre and these bands we just called out, like go back and check it out. I so got into the whole album. Like I said, just like song after song felt like a time machine. And it's one of those, it was one of those albums where you could play it and almost like place the exact year it came out. You
Yeah.
know, I
Oh,
feel like yeah, I feel like I was just like, "Oh, this has gotta be like 95, 96." And when I looked, I was like, "Oh yeah, 1996."
there it is.
Well, we sort of referenced it, we teased it a little bit, but tell me about your second pick. What was your second song?
So our second song is Bittersweet by Big Head Todd and the Monsters. They actually are coming to St. Louis this week. And so, we're all kind of getting ready for that that concert to hit. And so I thought, this is a good one to also, kind of hit a little bit.
So good. So good. I was introduced to this band when I was in college by one of my longtime friends. Her name is Shannon, and she and I went to high school together. And we both stayed in Texas for college. She was down in Lubbock at Texas Tech, and I was about 5 hours north in Denton. And this was before internet and email. So we used to write letters back and forth to each other, and we'd send mixtapes back and forth and all that stuff. And she had put this song, or no, she put either this or Broken Hearted Savior. It might have been Broken Hearted Savior that she put on, which was the bigger hit, I think, off of this
Yeah,
album. But it's what introduced me to this band. And like everybody, this Sister Sweetly album, everybody had it. You couldn't get into somebody's car without this CD being in there. Like
you got it.
it was everywhere. And so I just, again, this was one of those songs that I hadn't like dusted off in a while. And I forgot how good it is and how much I love it.
Right? I know. I just, it's funny. Like, I really like that genre of
Hmm.
music. And although I like everything from rap to country, but that genre, I think, because that's what I grew up with, was, is just, kind of my favorite.
It is. It's like it's the nostalgia of it. It's again like the collective community that's created of people that
You
like
bet.
that kind of music. You know, it's why
Yep.
I talk about it a lot on the show. Like the whole point for me of doing this is one, because I love to talk about music endlessly, and two is I just think it's such a great way to foster connection. You know, it
You
sets
bet.
time and place. It brings people together, whether it's at a concert where you're literally sharing a community experience over a band that ostensibly everybody there likes, you know, or at least
Yes.
is interested in learning more about.
Yes.
And it's been doing that. Like that's what made me think about it is when I went back. I think the oldest song on here is my first pick, and it's from 1988. But even back then, music was doing that for me. It was, you
Yeah.
know, if it was Shannon and I sending mixtapes back and forth, or you joining with friends on a lawn to watch concerts outdoor. And how many new people did you meet? I've never gone to a concert and not met new people,
Oh,
right?
well, and, like your best friends during those
Yes.
moments together, like you might not ever see each other again, but during those, concerts, you are like in love with it. Everybody's in love with each other.
Exactly. And I've not had another experience with any other form of art that feels that relatable to me. Like I
Yeah.
can remember like, you know, being at this sounds like super bougie, but like, you know, being at a museum or something and
Yeah.
sharing a, you know, like everybody looking at a piece of art together and feeling moved, or being in a movie, you know, that everybody loved.
You bet.
But a concert's just different. A
It's
concert
more
hits
free.
different.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, you feel like you're really engaging. It's two-way. It feels a lot
Yes.
more two-way than those other mediums. You know, again, maybe that's it. Like art, you're looking at static. You know, a film is not real. Nobody's there. But with a concert, like everybody's engaging. Like people are actually like they're sending out energy and we're giving love back. You know,
Yeah.
it's just it's cool.
And
And
people
I
are happy in most cases,
yes.
right? Like that's something that, as we, you know, the world is more and more challenged every day, that like to go and find the pieces that make you happy, and that, concerts definitely do that.
For sure. For sure. And again, and you know, I think after COVID, when we were all so isolated, like it just it hits different now for me. Like that we spent just like I went to more concerts probably last year than I ever have in a given year because I was so excited live
Yeah.
music was back and I had
Yes.
missed it. It was such a hole. like so many things during the pandemic. Like I think that it really did sort of expose the cracks in a lot of areas. And I think that's, you know, you and I talk about that some too, especially in the work that you're doing with Arras Sisters and Arras Health. And like, help me understand Arras Health. I think like that's kind of the point, right? Is to kind of help bridge mental health care post
Yeah.
pandemic.
So, like as we are watching, like literally every day, different things kind of blowing up and the impact that that has on all of us. And you can say that from social challenges to political challenges to, whatever really like gets, gets to you. And one of the things that we're building is an app that will have 17,000 stories of people who have had challenging moments, but how they got out of them. And I
Amazing.
think, we're going to be like a little mental health YouTube. And the goal is really so people can identify and not feel alone, and that they can see that no matter who they are, no matter what they're doing, there are other people that have experienced similar types of pain, similar experiences. And with that, we're hoping that we bring a lot of hope and inspiration, as well as just keeping the guardrails on. We are watching
Right.
way too many people die by suicide.
Yes.
You
And again, like that's a great time to like insert this. Like that hotline has been fantastic. I've never been
yes,
happier about a government program. Like if you know of
988.
anyone that you know is struggling, 988, please call 988.
You bet. And we are big advocates of pushing people to doctors, but it's taking 4 to 18 months to get into a mental health professional. And
Yeah.
that's just too long. And that's why the suicide rates are going up. People don't have that type of bandwidth. So we're really excited to be working on this app. We're launching a big Kickstarter on Tuesday, and we're
Amazing.
super excited about that, because 200 people are dying a day by suicide,
Ugh.
and we've got to change the way that we're working currently in those situations.
100%. And everybody knows somebody, you know, and I
You bet.
always go back to community. Like that's
Yep.
the thing I love about Arras Sisters. It's what I love about what you're doing with Arras Health. And I think that's a great way to phrase it. It's like a YouTube for mental health. Like that's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And again, just an opportunity to build that community and know that you're not alone. And I feel like that is a lovely segue into my first pick, which while I think at the outset this sounds like an incredibly sad song, I'm going to give you a different take on it. So my first pick is a song called Circle by Edie Brickell and New Bohemians.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
I love this song. I love, and I'm not a big like sad song gal. I gotta say, like I'm generally an upbeat person. My daughter is always listening to like the saddest music. I'm like, what are you doing in there? And she's like, well, if I listen to sad music, I don't have to feel sad. And I'm the opposite. I'm like, if I'm listening to sad music, I'm like a puddle and I'm crying and I just I relate too much or I get into it too much. And so this song, the hot take I'll give you on it that I laugh about now is that um, this one is like my high school angst song in like summed up in whatever 4 minutes. Like if I was having a bad day or I was feeling teen angsty, like I'd run into my room and pop in this CD and turn it up and maybe slam a door or something for effect, you know. But like that's how my like in my later years my mom said like, oh, if I ever heard that song like coming out of your room, I just knew to steer clear.
Oh, well, that's a good way to, like, don't come in at the moment. I'm good.
Right. So you can listen to it and feel like it's so sad about like, oh, like losing a friend and all of that. I'm like, or you can think like, wow, that really is like, I can't think of a more like teen angsty song to like
That's
throw
awesome.
up in your room, like
That,
blast in your room.
yes, yes, 100%. We definitely come from the same era.
Yes, yes. Well, and I also think too, like, this is kind of the same note as we had talked about from the Big Head Todd song. I think that What I Am was the bigger hit off of this album, which is,
Yep.
obviously for those of you that don't know, it's from the Shooting Rubber Bands at the Stars album. If you're not familiar with it, if you don't know Edie Brickell, or you only think of her as, Paul Simon's wife, like, go back, pick up this album, check it out. I promise you won't be disappointed. I think that she's so talented. And even though What I Am was kind of the big hit that everybody
Yep.
knew, this was always the number one song off of that album for
You
me.
bet.
And I love that. I love that we both sort of chose the B tracks.
Yes.
For our picks. I was like, yes, that's how you found your people, when you're not just talking about the hit, you're going to the B
The
track.
secondary.
Right.
Yep.
So that is a good one, and that's my little plug for Edie Brickell if you don't know her.
That's awesome.
And then I'm going to close us out with maybe the anthem of this era, kind of, right? I mean, I feel like this song was so everywhere that I almost had a hard time putting it on the playlist. And then I gave it a listen again after, I don't know, it's probably been years since I've consciously listened to this song. I mean, maybe I hear it in the grocery store or, something, but it's the song All I Want by Toad the Wet Sprocket.
Oh, such a great tune.
Right? I mean, this is one of those songs that's like, it's an old favorite that I can finally appreciate again. I feel
Yes.
like, I listened to it to death, and radio airplay was insane, and you couldn't escape the song. It came out in 1991, and you really couldn't get away from it. But revisiting it was like catching up with an old friend. Like,
yes.
I feel like I'm being so nostalgic in this episode, but it really, I keep saying time machine, but that's what it was for me, to go back and listen to these 4 songs in this order. I was just like, I really was transported back. I thought of people I hadn't thought about in 30 years. I remembered situations. I remembered concerts, like all kinds of things just came flooding back. Was it the same for you?
Yes. I've got a playlist that I listen to pretty frequently, and the other song that's on it is Greatest American Hero. That I mean, like,
Oh,
and it's just and I was like, oh, so you start going through all those favorites of that era, the late 80s and 90s, and oh, I
yes,
could live in that space. Like,
for sure.
yeah. But all of these songs have meant something to me in my life at some point. So it's funny that, like, what you picked and what I picked, like, they're all really good songs. And I can't wait to actually add your 2 into this playlist because they fit beautifully.
Well, and it's great too, again, in terms of like cementing time and place. Like, as
Yes.
soon as I put this on, I was like driving around with my high school friends, or, my friend Brian and I worked together. And I can remember this song being on in the mall a lot, when we'd go to work, or like first dates, like just all of the things. Like, it really did take me back. And I had a lovely trip down memory lane while I was revisiting our picks. And then again too, this one I love Glenn Phillips, who's the lead singer of Toad the Wet Sprocket, and has come out with lots of, like, I think he's done quite a bit of solo work. He's pretty prolific as a solo artist these days, but he really is great too with lyrics and turning a phrase. I talk about that a lot, but I love how the song opens. Nothing so loud is hearing when we lie.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of true. Like, and things ring differently now than they
Greater
did when I was
experiences, right? Like,
17.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like, oh gosh, yeah, nothing so cold as closing the heart when all we need is to free the soul. I was like, wow,
Wow. Yeah.
kind of powerful. Like, and I can remember like bopping along as a kid singing, but I was like, I didn't realize how impactful, these lyrics are.
You
There are
bet.
lots of gems in there. So if it's been a while and you haven't looked at lyrics, because we didn't have that benefit really either back
No,
in the
we
day,
didn't.
you could look at liner notes, and sometimes in like an album or a cassette, they'd list the lyrics, but not always.
Gosh,
So, right?
making all those mixtapes too. Like,
Yes.
how fun was that? We would
Yeah.
spend hours in high school and
Hours.
college doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I still do. Like, Spotify is like, this girl is like the mixtape
That's
queen,
awesome.
because I'm constantly putting playlists together for any occasion. Anybody has anything coming up, like it's an excuse for me to build a playlist.
It's so fun. So
I know. I love it. Well, and like I said, I think most people are probably familiar with Toad the Wet Sprocket, especially this Fear album. They had a couple other albums as a band, but I feel like this one, and they even had some, like Something's Always Wrong. I remember that one came a little bit later. Good Intentions. Like they had some other big hits, but this was the one that I loved. And like again, the other thing that I remembered when I was listening to this is I actually did see these guys live once, and Mila Jovovich opened for them, who went on to
cool.
be. I know she sang a little bit in Dazed and Confused, which I think came out in 93 maybe, and I probably saw them in 95, and so I knew that she sang a little bit, but I didn't know she was like opening for bands and stuff. So that's like one of those weird stories where you're like, you saw who with who?
So cool.
So yes, supermodel, actress, and singer. There you go.
Who knew?
Who knew?
Yeah.
Well, this has been such a fun episode, Kelly. Thank you for being my very first guest back. Thank you for all the work that you're doing with Arras Sisters and Arras Health. And for those of you that would like to learn more about the work that Kelly is doing, you can find Arras Health and Arras Sisters on Instagram. They are at Arras Sisters, ARRASSISTERS, and Arras Health, ARRASHEALTH. And also keep your eyes peeled on Arras Health IG page for more information about the Kickstarter campaign that Kelly referenced. That'll be coming out probably the day after this episode airs. So what is that? Tuesday the 10th. Tuesday the 10th.
Yes.
Tuesday the 10th. That's it. And as always, to keep up with all things Super Awesome Mix and What Are You Listening To, please follow us on Instagram at Super Awesome Mix. Thanks for listening, and please join me again next week to find your new favorite song.